The advice was followed readily, for the feverish symptoms increased, and the advice that was given by the doctor was followed very sincerely, because the symptoms of the fever were increasing, means she was not getting better, and her headache acutely, and the headache was also increasing. Elizabeth did not quit her room for a moment, and by all the time the sister Elizabeth was there with her, nor were the other ladies often absent. And the two other ladies about which we have discussed, who were they? Mrs. Hurst and Miss Bingley, they also remained there in that room for most of the time. The gentlemen being out, they had in fact nothing to do elsewhere. But the gentlemen, the two men, Mr. Darcy and Mr. Hurst, were not there, because they did not have anything to do there in that room where Jane was taking rest. When the clock struck 3, Elizabeth felt that she must go. And when the clock showed the time that it is 3 o'clock, Elizabeth thought that now she must return back to her house, as she promised to her parents that she would come back before the dinner, and very unwillingly said so. And she expressed her view that now she wanted to go to her place, to the people there, means to the ladies and to the Jane. Miss Bingley offered her the carriage. So now when she decided to go back, what happened? Miss Bingley offered her the carriage, means the vehicle, because when she came there, she walked throughout the way. And now she must be too tired, so Miss Bingley offered the carriage, and she only wanted a little pressing to accept it, means she too wanted to accept the offer because she was very much tired. When Jane testified such concern in parting with her, but what was the problem? That the Jane did not want her to go back. So here the phrase is given, testified such concern in parting with her, means showed great reluctance to part with her. The Jane did not want that her sister go back, so that Miss Bingley was obliged to convert the offer of the chase to an invitation to remain at Netherfield for the present. So at first, the offer of Mrs. Bingley to Elizabeth was that she was offering a carriage so that she could return back to her house. And now, what was the offer? That she could stay there with her sister Jane. And why she offered such thing? Because Jane wanted so. She did not want her sister to go back. That's why. Elizabeth most thankfully consented, and Elizabeth thanked them for their concern, and a servant was dispatched to Longbourn to acquaint the family with her stay and bring back a supply of clothes. Now, what happened? Now, a servant was sent to her place, to the home of Elizabeth instead of Elizabeth herself, to inform the family about her decision that she would stay with her sister Jane to that place by the time her sister will get well, and also to bring some clothes for the Elizabeth. So this was the story. Now here one more term is used, that is draughts. Draughts means medicinal drinks. And the another term that we discussed was styles. Styles means steps made over a fence or a gate. So this is all about the chapter. Let's go through the brief of the chapter once. That one day it was raining very heavily and Jane left to visit Mr. Bingley to the Netherfield. And when she returned back, sorry, when she reached there, it was raining very heavily, so she got wet, and she wrote a letter to her family informing about her health. Elizabeth read the letter and then she decided to go to the Netherfield to meet her sister, and she decided to walk for a distance of 3 miles since there was no carriage available and she did not know how to ride a horse. Up to a certain distance, her sisters Catherine and Lydia accompanied her, but after that, she moved all alone, crossing all the hurdles, all the obstacles of the way. Then finally she reached to the house of Mr. Bingley. There she met Mrs. Hurst, Miss Bingley, Mr. Darcy and Mr. Hurst. They all welcomed her. They all treated her with kindness and they appreciated her action of coming there in spite of very bad weather conditions. Then they took her to her sister who was not well. They took the Elizabeth to Jen. Then they called a doctor. They were very caring for the Jen. They called a doctor. The doctor gave his suggestions. They followed the suggestions because Jane was not getting better and her fever and the other symptoms were increasing. And by that time, Elizabeth realized that now she should go back because she told her family that she would be back by the time of dinner. So she expressed her opinion in front of the family and in front of her sister. But since Jane was not well, she did not want her sister to leave her. So she insisted her to stay there and Elizabeth agreed. Then finally, Miss Bingley sent a servant to the house of Elizabeth to inform her family that she would be staying there with Jane, and she also asked for few clothes for the Elizabeth. This was all about the story.